And I want to talk about Obama, Michelle Obama, and uh, political assassinations. We don't necessarily agree with. And I was talking to Michelle. I said, Michelle, do you think that uh, the community would be appreciative if I allowed for this host that we have coming up to ask me some questions? And if I could speak about Charlie Kirk. Just talking to my kids. Talking to my kids. And Sasha, she's something else. Sasha. Man, good old Joe. Checked on Joe the other day, and Joe is Joe. Joe. Tell you something about Joe. Joe, loyal. It's one thing I'll say about Joe. 50 plus years being a legislator. Something about him. Joe's doing good. Joe's good. Everything's good. It's Michelle. Podcasts. I like the episodes. Did you see the one that I was on? Craig got to do better on that. Her brother, Craig, looks just like her. Obama jumped into the fray, and he had his own opinion about this whole situation. And he said that I want to give my opinion about the political violence of what's happening out here. And he gave his own perspective. And so that's what we're going to review right now. Make sure if y'all need me to do an Obama voiceover, I got you. This is what he said, y'all. Let me go ahead. I think it was somewhere earlier in this whole live stream, this hour and 16-minute live stream. It's fairly early in it. Let's see.
Mentors and training so that they can maximize their impact. Presidential life had happened. Going to be hopefully a lot of the work that, and so that'll be writing until the end of this, as opposed to, at sort of the journey I was on, faced today.
Earlier this year,
all right, here we go.
Speaking of the events of the world, you are in Pennsylvania, as you know, earlier this year, the governor's mansion, the subject of an arson attack, the tragedy in Minnesota back in June, the horrific murder in Utah of a conservative activist. Are we at an inflection point in our country? Where are we today?
Well, we are certainly at an inflection point, not just around political violence, but there are a host of larger trends that we have to be concerned about. I think it is important for us at the outset to acknowledge that political violence is not new. It has happened at certain periods in our history. But it is something that it is anathema to what it means to be a democratic country. And regardless of what
I'm sorry, I was muted. Is it me, or is Obama becoming slower in his rhetoric or the things that he's saying nowadays? And I don't know if it's because he's being careful with his words, or he doesn't have a teleprompter, or he's just getting older and he's being I don't know what it is. But Obama is being very, very careful with his words lately. And I don't know what that is. Or he's talking a lot slower Takes him a long time to get to his point. I don't know what's going on.
Regardless of where you are on the political spectrum, what happened to Charlie Kirk was horrific and a tragedy. What happened, as you mentioned, to the state legislators in Minnesota, that is horrific. It is a tragedy. And there are no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The central premise of our democratic system is that we have to be able to disagree and have sometimes really contentious debates without resort to violence. And when it happens to some, but even if you think they're quote unquote on the other side of the argument, that's a threat to all of us. And we have to be clear and forthright in condemning it. Now, that doesn't mean that.
Now, before he goes on and before he continues his soliloquy, I 100% agree with that point. 100% agree with that point. We should, which we never will. And I want to be very, very, very transparent with you guys with my thoughts. We will never get to a point in history where people across the board, and when I say everybody, because remember, it only takes one radicalized idiot to upset the norm and the status quo of us being able to disagree civilly. It only takes one idiot. It only takes one idiot. You going out, you having a conversation, you have an uncomfortable conversation, you disagree. I just had somebody in my own chat that don't have no profile picture saying that they're willing to pull up on me. I want to pull up on you and let you know I do the same thing to you as Charlie Kirk. Am I supposed to not take that serious? So what are you supposed to do? Are you not supposed to take the threat serious? Do you take it lightly? Do you make the adjustments? You just keep on trucking? No, you got to take it seriously. So I don't believe that we'll ever be able to civilly have a debate to where people don't take it overboard and be extreme on both sides, whether you're Republican or Democrat, whether you're liberal or conservative. People get so in their feelings and so upset, and I've never understood it. I've never understood it. It never made sense to me. You telling me that you would get so mad. I've never been so mad at somebody that I don't know about an opinion that they have that I disagreed with to where I felt compelled to be able to pull up on them and do some harm to them. Never in my life. Never in my life. You know what I did? Stop watching them. Stop following them. Stop caring about what it is that they say. I unsubscribe to them. There are people that people dislike, and they always telling me, Anton, did you see what this person said? Did you see what that person said? I didn't even know that they said anything until you sent it to me and you asked me the question, because I don't watch and I don't follow those type of people. For us to get into a space to where you care so much about a person that you are willing to physically do harm to them and you've never met them a day in your life. That is so irresponsible. So I agree with that. I agree with the fact that he's saying that, we need to get to a point that we can't stop debating, but at some point you got to start thinking self-preservation also.
We can't have a debate about the ideas that people who were victims of political violence were promoting. And so I've noticed that there's been some confusion, I think, around this lately.
And you see Obama, he's trying to play both sides right now. He's playing both sides right now.
And frankly, coming from the White House and some of the other positions of authority that suggest, even before we had determined who the perpetrator of this evil act was, that somehow we're going to identify an enemy.
Let me see if I can get my connection back to the way that it needs to be. Give me a second. All right, let's continue to rock. We good.
Suggest that somehow that enemy was at fault, and we are then going to use that as a rationale for trying to silence discussion around who we are as a country and what direction we should go. And that's a mistake as well. And so, look, obviously I didn't know Charlie Kirk. I was generally aware of some of his ideas. I think those ideas were wrong. But that doesn't negate the fact that what happened was a tragedy and that I mourn for him and his family. He's a young man with 2 small children and a wife who obviously, and a huge number of friends and supporters who cared about him. And so we have to extend grace to people during their period of mourning and shock. We can also, at the same time, say that I disagree with the idea that the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was a mistake. That's not me politicizing the issue. It's making an observation about who are we as a country. I can say that I disagree with the suggestion that my wife or Justice Jackson does not have adequate brain processing power.
And so this is always the play of, and you know what? I think that Obama is smarter than this. I think that Obama is way smarter than what he's letting on. Don't y'all know that Obama is playing y'all? Obama is incredibly smart. He's incredibly smart. He's very wise. And he knows what he's doing. And so he understands the context by which Charlie Kirk was speaking about certain subjects. He understands specifically about, and see, he wants to insert his wife or a Supreme Court justice as a black woman into the conversation in order to try to justify Charlie Kirk saying that certain groups of people should not be in certain positions based off of diversity, equity, and inclusion. The reality was that Charlie Kirk was speaking that people should not get into positions that they did not earn simply based off of the color of their skin or their gender or their political preference and or their sexual preference. And he used certain examples in order to illustrate this point. That is the full context. I have a hard time believing that most people, most black people, because I'm almost positive that the majority of Charlie Kirk's audience and the people that watch his debates or watch his commentary, they were not liberals and they were not black. They were not liberals and they were not black. And I don't believe that anybody should get a position based off of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and or be included in a conversation based off of anything other than merit. Anything other than merit. Charlie Kirk, listen, y'all can't nobody say nothing to y'all anyway. I ain't never heard any of y'all say, yeah, man, we needed to be held accountable on this. Anybody that's on any side that you don't agree with, you're going to find a reason to disagree with them. You're not even objective. Even I'm able to look at some of what Obama says and say, you know what, that part is true, but I don't necessarily care for this part. Y'all lies. You're lies. You're lying. You're lying. You're lying, and I know you're a liar, and I'm so tired of you lying, acting like you know what Charlie Kirk stood for, or what it was that he was saying, or what you disagree with, or what you agree with. All lies. All lies. And the reason that I know that you don't even believe in what you're saying, because if you really did agree with it needed to be based off of merit and that we had to have a certain level of understanding and intellect and brain capacity in order to be successful, to be in certain positions, then you wouldn't have voted for Kamala Harris. I know you lying. I know you cap. I know you believe in diversity, equity, and inclusion. I know that she had no business being in a position to run for president of the United States of America, let alone to even be vice president, but you voted for it anyway. Y'all sat there and lied to yourselves and tried to act like Joe Biden had the mental capacity to even be able to survive being in a position to be the president of the United States of America. He was too old and he was too incapacitated to even get in there the first time, let alone go the second time, and y'all was rolling with it. You rolled with it. That's how I know that you pick and choose the spots that you want to take, and you're taking them because you don't like Trump or you don't like Republicans. It's not that you even agree with some of the decisions that you make. You do stuff out of spite, not because you actually paying attention. Everybody and their mama, every single person that voted knew that Biden had no capacity to be in that position at all. Everybody knew that Kamala Harris had no business running for president of the United States of America. No business at all. If you're telling me that Kamala Harris is not a DEI pick when it comes to running for office and y'all voted for just because she was an AKA. You voted for her just because you thought that she was a black woman and she was dating a white man. Y'all don't even have no standards on who is supposed to be pro-black. You hate men that date white women, but then you voted for Kamala Harris because you said that she was black, but she is married to a white man. Everything that you do is DEI. Everything that you do is a DEI play. You give people opportunities and you rock with them just based off of identity alone. Because if it was anything other than identity, you wouldn't have a geography teacher as the mayor of Chicago running the city into the ground. No way in hell that Lori Lightfoot should have ever been mayor of Chicago before him. No way in hell you're going to sit here and tell me that Karen Bass was the best person for the position to be mayor of Los Angeles. Every single thing that y'all do is DEI. But see, we're going to skip over that part. We're going to skip over that part. And he wants to use, my wife. You tell me Michelle doesn't have brain capacity? No, I'm not going to tell you Michelle don't, but I'll tell you that Lori Lightfoot didn't. I'll sit there and tell you that Brandon Johnson, he used big words, but he don't know how to balance a budget. I'll sit there and tell you that Karen Bass is probably one of the dumbest mayors that I've ever seen in my entire life, but she right there collecting the paycheck on taxpayer dime. Taxpayer dime. Here we are. But here we are. Can cite example after example after. Tell me that Hillary Clinton should have been president of the United States of America. Tell me that Hillary Clinton should have been president of the United States of America with her pantsuits.
I can say that I disagree that Martin Luther King was awful. I can disagree with some of the broader suggestions of that liberals and Democrats are promoting a conspiracy to displace whites and replace them by ushering in illegal immigrants. Those are all topics that we have to be able to discuss honestly and forthrightly, while we still insist that in that process of debate, we respect other people's right to say things that we profoundly disagree with. That's how we should approach this. Now, the last point I'll make on this, or building on a point I made earlier, I've been very impressed with Governor Cox in Utah and how he's approached some of these issues. I suspect Governor Cox and I disagree on a whole bunch of stuff. He is a Republican, a self-professed conservative Republican, but in his response to this tragedy, as well as his history of how he engages with people who are political adversaries, he has shown, I think, that it is possible for us to disagree while abiding by a basic code of how we should engage in public debate. I think your own governor here, Josh Shapiro, has done the same thing. When I was president, in the aftermath of tragedies, when Dylan Roof went into a black church and, based on his own words, shot a group of folks who were engaged in Bible study and who had invited him in. And according to him, it was for racist reasons. As President of the United States, my response was not, who may have influenced this troubled young man?
I want to share something with y'all really quickly, okay? I want to share something with you. I want to share, because it's a lot of debate back and forth about what Charlie Kirk said about the airline pilots. I see Uncut Underground in here. I see you, Ty. All right, cool. So let's go over to the newsroom. I want to go all the way back to 2022 and beyond, when American Airlines actually started spending an egregious amount of money towards making sure that they prioritize black pilots and getting more diversity inside of the air instead of making sure that they got the best candidates, right? So this is straight from the American Airlines newsroom, the top link. August 15, 2022, American Airlines continues its efforts to diversify, and it went into diversify, basically making sure that black pilots got into it. The push for more black pilots to get federal funding, basically Capital Technology University, new pilot diversity initiative aims to level the playing field. U.S. Airlines push to recruit black pilots during, it's all over. It was, if you go back in time and you go back in history and you actually looked at it, they actually went through to try to spend more money to diversify the people that are in the air instead of focusing on finding the best candidates possible. So if you're going to sit here and tell me that Charlie Kirk didn't react to exactly what they were putting out there, then I don't know what else to tell you. It's on the American Airlines website, literally. Then American Airlines goes through and they decide to drop the practice of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And this was before Trump even got into office. They dropped their diversity-focused hiring practices. American Airlines faced complaints from the AFL accusing it of engaging in hiring practices that violated federal contracting laws. They prioritize race and gender over merit in hiring practices. I don't know what else y'all want to say. I don't know what else y'all want to have conversations about. This was before Trump even got into office. This is one of the reasons that it actually sparked conversations about who is qualified to actually be in the air. Are y'all hiring the best pilots? Are y'all hiring the best pilots, or are y'all hiring people based off of their race and gender? See, the internet is forever, and we don't have to sit here and play this game. The internet is, listen, if you are a black pilot and you are the best pilot and you are the person that is best for the job and you just so happen to be a woman, awesome. Good job. Have at it. Jump in the air and continue to fly. One of my favorite movies is called Up in the Air with George Clooney. But if you got in based off of disqualifying somebody else in order to get you in based off of your look or the fact that you got a coach, then I am not rocking with it. And his complaint was valid considering that American Airlines was openly promoting this. Y'all not this dumb. You're very smart. Stand down, big dog. Stand down. Stop having these talking points based off of how you feel. Stop standing on it based off of race. Y'all so racist. You're a racist person.